Just as an intro, my name is Scott Hanselman. I've been blogging for about 20 years at hanselman.com. I've got a podcast at hanselminutes.com that I've been doing for about 15 years. And I recently started a YouTube that you can check out. It's called Computer Stuff They Didn't Teach You. I think when early in career people start out, they think that understanding computers means working really hard and learning as many programming languages as possible and doing coding boot camps and things like that, doing hackathons, and they think that that will advance them. But I don't think that people are as intentional about their ability to be a good communicator. And I think that being a good communicator is actually as important or more so to advance a career in technology. I would much rather work with a medium level programmer who's a kind person, who's a great communicator, who's able to explain things, advocate for their team, advocate for themselves, than a 10x developer who's a jerk. No one's interested in working with jerks. So just as you're spending time sharpening the saw, becoming better at technology, you should also consider trying to be as good as you possibly can as a communicator, as a speaker, as a presenter. And I don't mean presenting to hundreds of people at a conference. I mean presenting to 5 members of your team, explaining some code that you recently did, going through a code review, things like that. An interesting way to frame the question about what's great about being a dev is to think about the billions and billions of people on the planet that are not developers. And think about the 25 or 30 million that are. And think about the power that those people have. We are the digital carpenters of the modern age, and we're able to go and influence those people. That's why what's being great about it being a dev is that you are a creator, you are a maker, you are an influencer, you are asking the great questions about ethics, about creation, as we construct kind of a digital future. So the power, the sense of empowerment that one gets in being a developer is really cool, and that's why I think it's really important to focus on the next generation of developers, and why I'm trying to lend my privilege as much as I can as maybe an older programmer to get new devs in and excited about coding, about creation. Good developers don't give up. Good developers can bisect a problem, chop it up and say it's this or it's this. Okay, it's this or it's this. 1 or 2, 1 or 2. Just like a good eye doctor says 1 or 2, A or B. That is what a lot of developers spend a lot of time doing. So being able to debug a problem and understand a problem fully. I think also that a lot of time is spent trying to be a good coder when we should be spending more time trying to be a good systems thinker. How does the code that you're writing fit into a larger system is more important than the syntax of a particular language. So I think one of the strengths that are important for developers are understanding systems and how what you create fits into that, affects it. A butterfly flaps its wings, in Brazil, and a hurricane happens in Florida. That kind of stuff happens in code all the time. Being able to see that and understand that is important. We spend a lot of time trying to learn libraries, but not a lot of time trying to understand the larger systems within which those libraries work. Some of my biggest mistakes during my career were either sending emails or writing blog posts or writing tweets late at night without thinking. What I call fire and forget. Fire and forget is always a bad idea. You should always have a clear head when you publish something. You should always think about whether or not that was a useful thing and whether or not you really had a good headspace when you decided to do it. So whether it be building software and releasing it at Friday night and then leaving, breaking the build and getting in the car and driving home, or sending out a thoughtless tweet or a poorly edited blog post on a Friday night. All of these things are a matter of not being mindful, not being present and in the moment. Almost all of the mistakes that I have made were thoughtless mistakes rather than thoughtful or mindful mistakes. Still being here is a proud moment. There's not a moment where you ship a thing and you go, I helped ship Windows, or I helped ship Visual Studio. That's cool and everything. I have shrink-wrapped software. I've released open source software. I don't know. They're all good. I mean, the fact that I'm still here is a pretty proud moment. The fact that I'm here 30 years later and still going is pretty cool. But ultimately, my moments are not my moments. They're other people's. So someone getting a job because they took one of my interview tips things, or someone gave their first talk. There's a good example. I've had a lot of people say that they saw me speak and then they started speaking. That's awesome. Someone seeing me write a book and then they wrote a book. So I think my proudest moments are lifting others up. I can't think of a specific one where I did something and I patted myself on the back and said, good job. It's more when I see other people get lifted, because my whole point, my whole vibe, my whole thing is to try to send the ladder back down. And I think that's really important. And that's a good thing for all of us as later in career or senior developers to do, is to send the ladder back down.
Thousands of developers find jobs across Europe using Honeypot. If you're up for a new challenge in one of these European cities, sign up at honeypot.io. If you want to see more tech documentaries, then subscribe so you don't miss the next one.